Good afternoon, everyone. As you can see on the title, this paper is designed to offer few suggestions for discussion on biodiversity. Let me start by introducing the definition of biodiversity. According to the 1992 UN Convention on Biological Diversity, biological diversity is defined as follows. Biological diversity means the variability among living organisms from all sources, including terrestrial, marine, and other aquatic ecosystems, and the ecological complex of which they are a part. This includes diversity within species, between species, and of ecosystems. Biodiversity laws, that is, extinction of species stemming from various causes, and climate change are two major issues related to biodiversity. One of the countermeasures to climate change is the promotion of ecosystem conservation and restoration by the government, local government, and international organizations. On the contrary, the loss of biodiversity caused by rapid population moves or rapid development must be addressed as an urgent matter. In my presentation, I focus on four major issues. First, a biblical perspective on biodiversity. Second, a related educational issue. Third, a problem with a scientific approach. And finally, one successful example. I'd like to begin by discussing a biblical perspective on biodiversity. There has been debate in Eastern philosophy regarding the ethical implication of biodiversity. It has been debated whether the emphasis should be placed on human superiority or on the application of universal ethics to both humans and living beings. And then, what is the biblical perspective associated with this? It is a fundamental perspective that biodiversity is itself a creative principle. In Genesis chapter 1, it is repeatedly said that God created all creatures according to their kind when He created the heaven and the earth. Additionally, God blessed all living creatures with fruitfulness and prosperity. Similarly, God also blessed the humans who were created as males and females, as fruitful and prosperous. He also added the duties of stewardship over all living things. Accordingly, biodiversity is considered a creative principle and a value that should be preserved as a good. After Noah's flood, God covenanted with Noah that He would never again destroy the world with water, enhanced the significance of preserving the diversity of life. As God gave the sign of the covenant of preservation with the rainbow, He included not only Noah and his descendants, but all creatures as parties to the covenant. So what I'm saying is that biodiversity is an essential principle of creation. And at the same time, it must be protected and respected in accordance with God's covenant of preservation, the Noahic covenant. Therefore, human stewardship of all creatures entails a sacred obligation, not an option, to respect and preserve the biodiversity of all creatures. Now we will move on to the second topic, a related educational issue. A study suggests that HAPNV education, that means human, animal, plant, nature, bond education, could be effective in educating children about biodiversity. This educational system includes education through direct experience of animals, plants, and nature, and indirectly education through various auxiliary means. In this way, it is reported that children's brain development and personality development could be enhanced along with nature-friendly emotions. This program may be considered one of the sustainable development education programs that are being emphasized in the present day. The significance of this point of view is the fact that we must also devote considerable attention to the education of future generations regarding biodiversity, as well as solving an issue related to biodiversity. Next, we'll turn our attention to a problem with a scientific approach. In the issue of truthfulness, reality, and objective in science, the correct concept of science as value neutral and reflecting nature itself like a mirror has been contested and debated in recent years. Under the influence of postmodernity, it appears that the concept of science has shifted from the objective of absolutes of the modern era to the tendency to increase doubt about the subject of science. In recent years, there has been an increase in question regarding scientific progress itself. I like to elaborate on the effect of this tendency. A value-oriented scientific perspective is emerging from the perspective of social constructivism, which incorporates a value-oriented element. They are intended to inform members of society as to where research should be directed, as well as the importance of seeking and pursuing the objective truth. Climate scientists also consider these various aspects of value-oriented element when analyzing current problems and creating forecasting models. As a result, various models are proposed which include both objective and value orientation at the same time. Right, let's sum up, shall we? When adopting a solution model that is agreed upon among members of society regarding climate change, the comprehensive opinion of experts on the scientific model in a variety of other fields such as social scientists, philosophers, and geologians, as well as climate scientists, will assist in selecting more appropriate one. Finally, I'd like to introduce a good example of biodiversity restoration. In the 1970s, the area around Cheonggyecheon, one of the streams flowing through downtown Seoul, was a slum area where many people lived. It is believed that this was the result of rapid movement of people to large cities during industrialization. When the stream's water became seriously contaminated with domestic wastewater in the 1980s, the government covered the creek and built an overpass. The overpass provided quick access to downtown Seoul. I attended high school in downtown Seoul, and it took me an hour to get there by public transport. When I was sometimes late to go to school, my father drove me to school not to be late. It took about 20 minutes by car using the Cheonggyecheon overpass. A variety of stability problems were identified in the 1990s with the elevated road system above the underground Cheonggyecheon stream, such as the severe pollution of the stream, overpass safety, and other ecosystems related issues. As a result of these side effects, the Cheonggyecheon restoration project was developed in the early 2000s under the main supervision of the Ministry of Environment and the Cultural Heritage Administration. Although ecosystem restoration is currently undergo, it is known that the restoration of Cheonggyecheon has contributed to the biodiversity of the region by 600 times. I just like to finish it with the instruction from the restoration of this example. Despite the fact that restoration biodiversity took a considerable amount of effort and financial resources, the Cheonggyecheon restoration, whose primary objective was to preserve ecosystems and cultural assets throughout all processes, has not only dramatically increased biodiversity but also contributed to harmonious urban development that blends tradition with modernity. Thank you so much.